Chapter 1. April 17th, 1975. For a brief time, it seemed the new year had brought good fortune to the household of Tep Naro in the Cambodian village of Reem, a fat-cheeked new daughter born to his wife Soka. The birth itself had not been an easy one. However, Naro and Soka were glad their young niece, Sandra, had come home from Phnom Penh to help them. On the day after the birth, Sandra had sat rocking the new baby in the wooden swing on the front porch. The afternoon air was soft and warm. A pleasant breeze wafted up from the Gulf. Nuzzling the baby, she breathed in the sweet newborn smell. Such a nice plump little body, such a thick thatch of black hair. In the hammock, Sandra's 6-year-old cousin, Ravi, lay nibbling leftover sticky rice cakes and entertaining his little brother Pon with a boat he'd made of knotted straw. A sad love song played on the radio, and Sandra kept time, lazily dangling her rubber thong from her toe, thinking of Cameron, the boy she'd left back in the city 2 weeks ago. "I want to go fight the communist," he told her that last night in Phnom Penh, the night before her father had spirited her through the teeming refugee-choked boulevards to the airport. Hearing these words as the shells from the communist guns screamed at the city's edge had terrified her. But now it seemed only a bad dream. Here, safe in her relative's fishing village, lulled by the rustling of the coconut palms, she could almost imagine this as simply another vacation. The war that had dominated their lives seemed so far away, so unreal. When the baby fussed, Sandra jiggled her, clicking her tongue as she'd seen the other women do. This seemed to calm the little one. Sandra smiled. She was beginning to feel quite capable, much older than 13. "Don't worry," she whispered to the baby, whom she'd already grown to love. "I'll take care of you." Suddenly, the radio music stopped for an announcement. Something about a new government, then a terse exchange, a brief commotion, then nothing. Sandra shifted the baby to one arm and turned the dial. "That's odd," she murmured to Ravi. "It's gone dead." A moment later, 2 men hurried past the house, then a panicky family. Sandra rose. "What's happening?" she called. "Where's everyone going?" "Get out! Get away! The communists! The Khmer Rouge! They've taken Phnom Penh and they're coming here." The communists? Hot fear burned her chest. She whirled and ran into the main room. "Grandmother! Younger aunt! Wake up! Khmer Rouge are coming! Everyone's running away!" Soka moaned, more in pain than alarm. "What does Naro say?" "Naro's not here. He's still at work." Soka shifted in her wooden bed. "I can't go anyway, not now." Grandmother peered out of the window. "Just wait for Naro, child. My son is head of this family. I'm sure he'll tell us this is nothing." Clutching the baby, Sandra paced the house. The servant girl had fled down and the back steps, leaving supper to burn. How much time did the rest of them have? The trickle of people in the street became a stream. Watching them, Grandmother sniffed. "I, for one, don't plan to leave my home just because the government might change hands once again." What's that to do with an old woman like me? Brave words, Sandra thought, but Grandmother had not seen the billboards all over Phnom Penh, the hideous pictures that warned that the Khmer Rouge would do if they came to power. A woman stabbed with a dagger, her sarong torn away, her legs. "Don't just stand there, you foolish woman!" Naro jumped off his roaring motorcycle, let it fall in the dusty yard. "Haven't you heard?" He hauled the 2-wheeled cart from under the house. "Throw our things in this, now!" Sandra dashed into the house. Laying the baby on a mat, she tossed clothes into a satchel. "We're leaving, younger aunt." "But I can't," Soka protested. "It's impossible." Naro ran up. "Up, Soka, hurry!" He flung open the teakwood chest, rummaged for a package at the bottom. "Are you crazy, husband? Have you forgotten? I just had a baby. I'm still bleeding. If you make me go now, I will die." Sweat beaded his forehead. "If we stay, we will all die. Everyone who worked with the United States must get out now." She turned to Sundara and grandmother. "You two, grab the basket of dried fish, the small gas stove." He scooped Soka from her bed and bore her down the steps. The baby fussed frantically at the commotion. Sundara snatched up her checkered krama and lashed the red face bundle to her breast, then rushed through the house grabbing dishes, food, mats, just one thing more, the parasol. Her chest clutched tight. Non Pen. Oh God, what about her family? What about Chameron? No time for that now. "You're killing me," Soka was screaming down in the yard. "We haven't even had the children's ceremonies yet. We cannot leave without purifying the house." Grandmother tugged at Narrow's sleeve. "She's right, my son. The spirits won't like it if—" "Shut up, both of you. Now hurry." Pon burst out crying. Sandra threw everything into the cart and plopped the toddler on a sack of rice. She seized a cart handle, and grandmother in a daze did the same. Together they shoved the heavy contraption after Narrow, who staggered ahead towards the wharf under Soka's sobbing weight. Behind them, Ravi struggled to keep up, bravely lugging the pot of supper he'd yanked from the fire at an afterthought. "Where are we going?" he kept calling. No one answered. People crowded on the pier with their squalling children and hastily gathered possessions, stumbling in panic up the gangplank to a large freighter. A few men rolled motorcycles on board. One family pushed a refrigerator. All was shouting and confusion. Where were they going, and for how long? Who should be let on? Who must be left behind? Somehow, Narrow knew the right people, his family, would be allowed on board. Night was coming on fast. The wind whipped Sundara's hair about her face as she gripped the baby in her krama, with one arm balanced Pon on her opposite hip, and swept by the mass of people, began the long, sloping climb up the gangplank to the ship. For hours, it seemed, she'd been picking her way among the people crammed together on the hot metal deck, trying to shield the baby from the blazing sun with her bleached-out parasol. 3 weeks they'd been on the sea, and Soka was ill. Sundara had been left to care for the little one alone. She scanned the crowd. Surely there was one nursing mother among these hundreds of people, a woman who could help her. Over there, sitting by the motorcycle. Sundara bowed awkwardly before the young mother and her child. "Excuse me, please. My aunt is very sick, and her milk has dried up, for her little one grows weak." She pulled back the blue checkered krama. "See how strange and dried out her skin is? Look, even her soft spot sinks in." The woman winced, and then averted her eyes. She held her own baby a little closer. Sundara licked the salt from her cracked lips. "I was wondering, could you—" "I'm sorry," the woman whispered. "I would, but— Oh, this is all so terrible. I'm not getting enough to drink myself. Soon I'm afraid I won't have milk for my own." Sundara nodded, swallowing hard. Everyone had the same story. Their own families had to come first. She covered the baby and moved on. Heaven protect her. The baby grew lighter by the moment, her life running out in diarrhea that stained Sundara's cotton sarong in reeking brown streaks. How limp she was, and so silent. Oh God, what to do? She went down to the hold where they guarded the donated supplies and found it crowded with people pleading for extra shares. She pushed into the weary crush, breathless with the heat. She finally squeezed through to one of the men in charge. "Our baby is so sick. Can you give me something for her?" "Everyone's sick," he replied impatiently, showing bad teeth. His breath stank. "Everyone wants something extra. There's not enough extra for all 700. Sandra shut her eyes, faint with disappointment and lack of air. "For the love of heaven," said a woman, "can't you give her an extra packet of milk?" Her voice softened. "Poor child, no grown-ups to help you." "They all have seasickness," Sandra whispered. The man's mouth twisted. "Well, here then." Grudgingly, he shoved a packet at her. Tears squeezed from the corner of her eyes. "Now what's the matter?" he demanded. Oh, hold. "Thank you. I'm grateful. But I think that's partly what made her sick, because before I had to mix milk in water without boiling it first." She took a deep breath, gathering courage. "I need medicine." "Medicine? Do you think this is a hospital? Do I look like a doctor? I wouldn't know what to give you if I had it." He glanced around. "That Thai ship donated these. Sugar, water, or something." He held up a glass bottle of clear liquid. "Although I don't know what they expect us to do with them, since this is for putting into veins, and we don't have any needles." "I'll take it," Sandra said quickly. It was liquid. It looked clean. She had to try something. "All right, but one thing. We don't need any more diseases than we've got. If that baby dies, throw it overboard right away." "What? Throw the baby?" Horrible man. She snatched the bottle and struggled out through the press of people, holding the little bundle tighter than ever. This baby couldn't die. She wouldn't let her. She would do anything. She would find a way to feed her. She would pray to God, promise to shave off all her long hair in gratitude if only the child would live. Nothing had changed back at their tiny section of the deck. Ravi huddled dejectedly with Pon, whose eyes were taking on the same sunken look as his baby sister's. The three grown-ups sprawled against the sacks of rice, oblivious of the beating sun. Sandra squinted upwards, hand shading her eyes. The tarp the ship people tried to rig had been ripped away by the hot wind. No shade, and nothing she could do about it. Well, she could at least try to clean up her patch of the deck. She pulled a sarong from their satchel and swabbed at the new vomit. Hurry, mustn't let it bake in the hot metal. Oh no, now little Pon has diarrhea too. Help me, Ravi." She popped Pom against the suitcase and handed Ravi the baby. She unpeeled the bottle's silver seal and yanked out the stopper. Dividing the liquid between a cup and the baby bottle she begged from another family. She handed Ravi the cup for Pon, quickly looking away, unable to bear those big, questioning 6-year-old eyes. "Now you must drink," she coaxed, cradling the baby again. "Please, please drink." But the tiny head fell back from the bottle. "Oh, little one, can't you swallow? No, don't let it dribble away."